If you want to improve your playing really quickly, you should learn these 5 easy licks today. Let's get started with lick number 1. Here we go. Let me talk through it. We start with 2 draw, 3 draw, 4 draw. And then you do 5 blow, 5 draw. Put it all together. When you're playing in second position, whether you realize it or not, you're playing in one of 2 scales. You have the major side or the minor side. The major pentatonic sounds major or happy, and it includes just one bend, the 3 whole step draw bend. And then we have the minor blues scale, which sounds like this, which has more of a sad minor tonality. In this particular lick, we are mostly playing in the major pentatonic, so the first 4 notes are in the major. But that last 5 draw, which is what gives this lick all of its flavor, that's taken from the blues scale, or the minor side of things. I'm going to keep talking about this in terms of scales later on because I think scales are such an important thing to know and understand. It really is the language of music, and understanding what you're playing will actually help you use it in a musical way. And if you don't know how to play your scales, you can check out my free scale cheat sheet, which is available for download in the description. I'll give you all the notes and I'll tell you how to practice. Okay, so that's the first lick, but before we move on, let's listen to that in the context of a blues song. Here we go. All right, let's move on with lick number 2. Here is the mostly major version, which is excluding bends. So if you don't know how to bend, this is the one you should learn. Here we go. Cool, right? So this one in particular, we start off with a glissando up to 5 draw, then 4 draw, 4 blow, back up to 4 draw, and then 3 draw, 2 draw. Now, you could also play this in minor if you add some bends in there. So anytime that we would have a 3 draw, we're going to replace that with 3 half step draw bend. Okay, so here's the minor version. So that's the lick. The glissando up to 5 draw is what makes this particular lick so powerful. Now, if you play any lick, you can always add a glissando. See how much character that glissando adds? It's a lot cooler when you just have that slide in the beginning. So anytime that you're improvising, if you just want to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of character to your playing, start with the slide, or a glissando if we're using the proper term. Okay, let's listen to this lick in context. Here we go. All right, let's move on to lick number 3. Here's the major version without bends. So we start off with 3 blow, which is the same note as 2 draw. The reason why it is like this is because it is done to accommodate the chords in the low end of the harmonica. You need that same note in there, that G, if we're playing on a C harp, to make both of those chords. And so we get 2 spots to play a G, which I think is pretty cool, and you can use them in interesting ways. Sometimes you would want to use the 2 draw when you want to add something like vibrato, and sometimes it's just nice going between 3 blow and 2 draw, which is something that we do in this. Now let me talk through it. We start with 3 blow, which is the G, right? 3 draw, 4 blow, 4 draw, back to 4 blow, 3 draw, 3 blow, 2 draw. Remember, those last 2 notes are the same, right? Here's that one more time. Now here's the minor version with bend. So when we make this minor, we're gonna turn the 3 draw into a 3 half-step draw bend. And for this one, I also turned the 4 draw into a 4 half-step draw bend as well. So check it out. This little lick is one of my favorite short phrases to play. Not only is it a fun thing to throw into a jam, but you can focus on really looping the main pattern, which is a crowd pleaser similar to, you know, playing a trill. If you play something that's repetitive, like let's say this, or a trill, or what I'm going to be showing you right now, if you're playing that, and especially if you're on stage, if you just do that for a while, if you just dig into that idea, you'll probably get an applause break. People love these kind of repeatable patterns, and the longer you do it, the more impressive it is. If you do it with the major version, here's what it sounds like. If you do it with the minor version, we're going to turn all those 3 draws into 3 half-step draw bends. Now, when you're doing this, I suggest you end on the 2 draw. It just gives a better sense of conclusion. So like this, I'm going to do the major one. It's pretty fun, right? So let's go take a listen to this over a backing track. I'm going to give you some examples, play with the timing, so you can see how you actually use this. Let's jump into the demo. The next 2 licks that I'm going to teach you are great for ending a phrase that starts on 2 draw. Okay, so if we're playing something and we normally end on 2 draw, this is what you would throw in at the end. So here's one. It has only a major version. What you should keep in mind about this lick is that it ends on a 1 draw. Now, this affects how it's going to sound over the music, right? Because a lot of times we end on 2 draw, right? So what happens if we end on 1 draw? Well, this note, which is a D, or scale degree 5 in this case, like the 5th note of the scale, right? Now, when you play this, you can use it in 2 ways in relationship to the music. So if the music is going to the tonic chord, like let's say we're playing a G blues and the music is going to the G, then you can consider this note one of the chord tones in the G chord. So like a G chord, we have the notes G, B, and D. You think of this as root, 3rd, and 5th. Okay, root, 3rd, 5th. Now the D, which is the 5th, which is what we end on here, we just end on the lower octave, on 1 draw, the 5th of the chord in that way is still going to harmonize with the music. So if you're playing this and the music is on the G chord and you end on that 1 draw, it's still going to work pretty well, but it's not a very stable note. It actually, when you're playing chords, like I'm a guitarist, right? When I play a chord, you can leave out the 5th of the chord and you really can't tell the difference. So it's not a very strong note. Where it does become stronger is where the music is moving to the 5 chord or the D chord. So you might have that at, let's say, bar 8 of the 12-bar blues, or you might have that maybe even the last bar of a 12-bar blues. So if you're coming up to the end of the blues progression and you know that the music is moving to a D chord, it's a pretty good idea to play some sort of a riff or a lick that ends on the 1 draw, because the 1 draw there, the D, is the root note of the D chord. I just want you to understand the context of how you actually use this. So that was a lot of talking. Let me show you how to actually use this in the context of a blues song. Here we go. Next up is a really common but important lick that you should know. I don't want you to skip out on this one. So here's the major version. Okay, very simple. 2 draw, 2 blow, 1 draw twice. Here's the minor version with bends. Now, everything I said about the last lick is true for this one as well. It ends on the 1 draw, so we're either going to use that as the 5th of the chord in a G chord, or we are going to use this as the root note of the 5 chord, right? The D in a D chord. When you play that over a D, it's going to sound much more stable and a lot better. It's going to kind of fit the music and match up a little bit closer. Now, this is a very common thing, but I just want to show you one more way that you can use this. So a lot of times a song will end on 2 draw, and this could be really in any genre, but of course the blues is a good place to practice this on. So, let's say a blues song, you're coming on the last note. Now you can play a shortened version of this lick right at the end to add a little bit of extra flair. Right there. Okay, so this works both with the major and minor version. It's just a cool way to end your jam if you play that. And of course, any lick or riff that you play that ends on a 2 draw, you can just tie this to it. You can just attach that little bit like this. All right, so let's go listen to this lick in context. Here we go. Want to learn how to actually remember these licks and riffs so you can integrate them into your playing? Well, then I think you should check out this video right up here. I go through the whole process so you don't just learn these licks in a vacuum and then do nothing with them. So watch that video and I'll see you next time. Peace.